Imagine building a monument so perfect that for 4 centuries, no one has been able to improve a single inch of it. Stand on the banks of the Yamuna River at dawn in 1653 and you would witness something that has never been built before and will never be built again. A monument rising from the dust of the Indian plains, carved entirely from white marble, constructed over 22 years by over 20,000 human hands. Not a palace, not a temple, a tomb. A tomb built by an emperor so consumed by grief that legend says his hair turned white overnight. This is the story of the Taj Mahal, the most beautiful building on earth, and the devastating love that created it. In the 17th century, the Mughal Empire stretched from the mountains of Afghanistan to the coast of Bengal. It was the richest empire on the planet, and at its center sat Shah Jahan, the king of the world, a man of extraordinary taste, extraordinary power, and extraordinary love. Shah Jahan had inherited an empire built on conquest. His grandfather Akbar had unified the subcontinent. His father Jahangir had filled its courts with art and beauty. But Shah Jahan would add something no ruler before him ever had. An act of love so monumental it would make the world hold its breath. Her name was Arjuman Banu Begum, but history knows her as Mumtaz Mahal, the chosen one of the palace. Shah Jahan first saw her in a market in Agra when he was 15 years old. He was transfixed. 5 years later, she became his wife. And for 19 years, she never left his side. She rode with him to war. She whispered counsel in his ear. She was not merely his queen, she was, by every account, his heartbeat. In June 1631, during the birth of their 14th child in the military encampment at Burhanpur, Mumtaz Mahal died. She was 38 years old. The accounts say that Shah Jahan, hearing her final breath, let out a cry that silenced every court official in the tent. When he emerged the next morning, witnesses reported that his dark hair had turned completely white. He went into isolation for 8 days. He refused food, he refused court, he refused to speak, and when he finally emerged, those who knew him said that something fundamental had changed in the man. The emperor was still there, but the part of him that laughed, the part that danced, that loved music, that reached for life, that part had been buried with her. And then, in the grief, he made a decision that would consume the rest of his reign and produce one of the greatest structures in human history. He would build her a tomb, not a simple tomb, a tomb that would make heaven itself envious. What followed was one of the most extraordinary construction projects in human history. Over 20,000 workers flooded into Agra from across the empire and beyond. Stonecutters from Rajputana, calligraphers from Persia, mosaicists from Baghdad, architects from Samarkand. 1,000 elephants were used just to transport materials. White marble was hauled 300 miles from the quarries of Makrana in Rajasthan. The architect, believed to be Ustad Ahmad Lahori, designed a structure so mathematically precise that the 4 minarets leaned slightly outward so that in the event of an earthquake, they would fall away from the main tomb rather than onto it. Every element of the Taj was deliberate, every proportion calculated. The dome rises exactly the same height as the facade below it, a perfect doubling that tricks the human eye into seeing something almost supernatural. Look closely at the walls and you enter another world entirely. The white marble is inlaid with over 40 varieties of precious and semi-precious stones: carnelian, jasper, jade, crystal, turquoise, lapis lazuli, forming flowers so intricate that a single bloom could take a craftsman months to complete. The technique is called pietra dura. The Mughals brought it from Florence, refined it, and elevated it into something the Renaissance itself never imagined. 28 types of gems embedded into marble, by hand, by candlelight. The gateway was designed to frame the Taj Mahal as a single perfect image, so that from the moment you pass through it, the entire monument appears to float. It's not by accident. The garden, the reflecting pool, the pathway, the gateway itself, all of it is precisely aligned so that the dome sits at the exact center of your field of vision, perfectly reflected in the water below. You are not stumbling upon a building, you are walking into a composition. Carved across the entrance gateway in black marble are verses from the Quran, specifically the Surah Al-Fajr, the chapter of the dawn, an inscription that calls the faithful to paradise. Shah Jahan was not simply mourning his wife, he was building her a gateway to God. The calligraphy is sized so that from the ground, every letter appears exactly the same height, a visual trick requiring masterful, proportional scaling across a 90-foot arch. And then there is the dome, rising 58 meters from the base, roughly the height of a 15-story building. It is often called the onion dome, though the Mughals called it the amrud, the guava. It changes color with the light. At dawn, it blushes pink. At noon, it burns white like a star. At dusk, it turns gold. In moonlight, it becomes silver. A single building that never looks the same twice. A monument that breathes. Legends have always swirled around the Taj Mahal, that Shah Jahan blinded his craftsmen so they could never build anything as beautiful again, that he planned a black marble twin on the opposite bank of the Yamuna, a mirror tomb for himself, that the monument slowly sinks into the earth each year, drawn down toward the river it overlooks. Some of these stories are myths, some carry the ghost of truth. What is true is this: Shah Jahan was eventually imprisoned by his own son Aurangzeb, who overthrew him in 1658. For the remaining 8 years of his life, the emperor was held captive in Agra fort. And from his window, if accounts are to be believed, he could see the distant gleam of the Taj Mahal across the river, the tomb he had built for the woman he loved, the monument that had consumed a decade of imperial treasure, the only place in the world he could no longer go. When Shah Jahan died in 1666, he was buried beside Mumtaz, the only asymmetry in the entire perfect structure. The centuries that followed were not kind to the Taj Mahal. The Mughal Empire collapsed. Invaders stripped jewels from the walls. British colonists held garden parties on the marble platform. At one point, the British government seriously considered demolishing the structure and auctioning the marble. The Taj Mahal, the most perfect building on earth, nearly became a quarry. It was Lord Curzon, Viceroy of India, who reversed the decay at the turn of the 20th century, commissioning the restoration of the gardens, the cleaning of the marble, the replanting of the charbagh into its original Mughal design. He later said it was the greatest act of his career. Not a battle, not a treaty, restoring a dead emperor's love letter to a world that had nearly forgotten her name. Today, over 8 million people visit the Taj Mahal every year. It was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1983. It is, by virtually every poll ever taken, the single most recognized building on the planet. And yet, through wars, through looting, through empire and ruin and neglect, it survived. The Taj Mahal survived because it is not, in the end, just a building. It is a feeling. The feeling of loving someone so much that the world itself doesn't feel large enough to hold it. Shah Jahan lost his queen. He could not bring her back, so he did the only thing a king with an empire at his feet could do. He made her permanent. History never truly disappears. It marble, it sandstone, it calligraphy, it breathes in the water of the reflecting pool. Every person who stands before the Taj Mahal, every person who feels something they cannot quite name, is feeling the echo of a grief so deep it became art, a love so stubborn it became stone, a man who simply refused to let her go. The Taj Mahal, built for a woman, loved by a world. If this journey moved you, subscribe. We travel through history every week, and tell us in the comments which monument, which empire, which story should we explore next.